Hi friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. I am playing along with Kat Scrappiness's new release for embellishments today. She's got a whole bunch of new embellishments being released. I picked out 3 I wanted to use on my card today. Actually, I picked out 2 and another one I wanted to show you. Those are the teal seashells. These are the purple seashells, and she's got these mugs of beer. I thought these were adorable, and I will think of some kind of shaker card to make for my son to get those. So I'm going to play with the purple and teal seashells today, and I also wanted to show you this fabulous set of 3mm clear drops that I'm also going to use. I use those and add them to my shaker elements when I'm making shaker cards because I love the way they look and mixed in with shaker elements. And I wanted to show you these embellishment trays. She's got 2 different kinds, this larger one, and it's got an opening you can use to pour things, and also the triangle ones make it easy to pour anyway. She's got these embellishment spoons. I use these not just for embellishments, I also use them for my glitters and my embossing powders. Now I'm pulling back out here a little bit just because I wanted to show you the embellishment organizer. You get this embellishment organizer case along with all the little containers that go inside it. You get a sheet of labels, and you can see I only have a few left there, so my organizer is getting full. I will definitely be ordering a second one of these because I enjoy this so much, and I find myself making more shaker cards with now that I have this embellishment organizer because it's so handy. All my stuff is organized in one spot. So today I'm going to make a card with a shaker, a small shaker element in it. And I'm going to use these fancy scalloped rectangle frames. You can see these are the biggest ones an A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. There are 6 different sizes altogether. I'm going to use 2 of those sizes today because I'm going to use one for my card front, the A2 size one, and then I'm going to put like the 4th one in, and I'm going to use that and cut out a little rectangle from the inside of my card to create the shaker element in that part. I also pulled out the layered Tulip Builder die set. This is so pretty. It's the first time I've used it, and I was so happy with the way that it turned out. I pulled out the Valentine Quokkas, and I pulled out the Friendship Greetings stamp set because I love the sentiments in these 2 sets. So, I mean, there's hello, there's my dear friend, there's always a thank you. The Quokka one has thinking of you, and when I don't have a specific use for a card as I'm making it, I always use one of those general sentiments that I could send to anybody for any occasion. So I went ahead and I die cut out my 2 rectangles in white cardstock. So I've got the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch piece, and then I've got the smaller rectangle size that I want to use for my shaker bit. I pulled out some of the plain rectangle dies that I have from Kat Scrappiness. Here you can see I've also die cut out my tulips, and I put it in a plastic cup so that I could keep the pieces all together, and I'm trying to decide how I want to arrange things, and I'm thinking I want to cut that rectangle out of the lower right hand corner, so I'm just pulling things out to look at them and compare the colors. I'm just using scraps of cardstock here. Like, this is a perfect die. This tulip die is a perfect die to cut out the scraps of paper. But as I was putting things together, I felt like the white was really bright, so I want to knock it down, and I love to have a blue or a green or sometimes a yellow behind florals when I use them, especially these Build-A-Flower dies. I like to have a little background color. So I like a little bit of soft ink blending, and I just got these beautiful Concord and 9th ink pads. I splurged on myself and bought the bundle when they were on sale. Kat Scrappiness has them, and at the time I'm making this video, they're actually out of stock. So if you are interested in them, you definitely want to go to the blog and get your name on the wait list for when she restocks them. And they're beautiful. They have foam pads. The colors are soft and lovely. Like you can see this. This is called Aqua Sky. It's a little bit blue, a little bit green. I really love it. So I want to make a frame out of this smaller piece. So I'm coloring the whole thing. And I'm going to use the rectangle that I cut out of the inside of that as the back of my shaker element. So I want to make sure the whole thing is covered. I don't care that it's not covered perfectly. I like the variation in color for what I'm going to do with it, so that works. So I pulled out, like you can see, I have a whole bunch of rectangle dies. I use them all the time. The one that I just put to the side was, the largest one was 5x7, and then I had a set with a stitched detail around the edge. I'm pulling out and using the set that the largest one is an A2 size. And look at all the dies in this. I use this constantly. So I want to make that fancy scalloped rectangle piece that I die cut earlier and then ink blended. I want to make that a frame for my shaker element. So I pulled out the size that fits right inside that stitch detail that fancy rectangle has, because I want to keep that stitch detail. Then I took the next size up and I'm going to die cut that rectangle out of my card, because I'm going to use that white piece that I'm cutting out there as the back of my shaker element. So I'm going to have a slot that I can slide my shaker element into on my card front. That's exactly what I want. And then I'll have that pretty teal frame, or this aqua sky frame, to fit around it. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut these out. And that tape, by the way, that yellow tape is Spellbinders tape. I really like this, actually. The tape has been working pretty well. It's nice and sticky, but not so sticky that it's been ripping my paper. So I like it. It's good tape. I don't know if you've tried it yet. I did not have good luck with the purple tape, so I found this, and I've been using this for quite a while now. So I like it. I am careful when I peel it off. I do think the potential is there for any tape to, pull your paper apart if you're not careful. So I sort of peel it at an angle. I am saving those two rectangles that I just removed there. They are going to be part of my shaker element. And then the other piece will be my card front. So I'm going to just clean up my desk here. Now you can see that I have a magnet on my, to organize my dies. I always add magnets. I used to add magnet sheets, but since, I don't know, for a few months now, I've started using these rolls of magnet, like sheets. I guess they're rolls of magnets. I buy them on Amazon for like $10. And they go a long way. So I'm just adding one of those pieces. It's got adhesive on one side, and I'm just adding it to the backing for my die set here, and it keeps them so organized. I'm careful about putting my dies away before I move on. You can see I've also added one of those magnets pieces to the Tulip Die, so I've got all the pieces attached there. And then I stick them in a clear plastic sleeve so that nothing can get lost. I was contemplating using my favorite bright purple cardstock, one of my colored cardstock splurges, as my backing, but it was just a bit too bright for the colors that I've selected for the rest of this card. So I'm going to go with a white card base. I am gluing my two rectangles together. I want that aqua sky piece to be what shows on the inside of my frame, and I'm just going to cut down a piece of scrap acetate for my shaker element here, and I'm just cutting it down to be the size of the frame that I just created. Creating frames like this is a way to make your dies go a lot farther, and if you have shaped dies, you definitely want to use your shaped dies to the full advantage. So using them to create frames of all different sizes to work in your scrapbook layouts or on your cards is definitely something you want to get kind of good at. So keep that in mind and definitely play around with things that you can do with your shape dies. So I pulled out some 1/8 inch foam adhesive. I really like these little strips. They come in shorter lengths too, so you can get the longer lengths or the shorter lengths. Either one is nice. These fit perfectly on the back of these frames, and they're easy to use for shaker cards. They're nice and flexible, so they bend easy, and it doesn't give you a stiff shaker card, which was my complaint years ago when I first started making shaker cards. You want to make sure that all those foam pieces fit perfectly together. You don't want there to be any gaps, or your shaker elements will actually come out when the recipient starts shaking the card. Now, one thing I always do is I use my powder tool to just go over the inside of the sides of the foam tape that I just put on and the acetate. The acetate has a lot of static electricity, so I want to get rid of that because the clear acrylic drops that I use can have a lot of static electricity also, and we all know sequins have a lot of static electricity. And now I'm just kind of spreading them out so that they're not layered on top of each other. I want to get a single layer of these shaker bits because I don't want them to get wedged when I put that back on. I don't want them to be wedged in there. And I usually like to put the shaker bits on the back and then put the frame on top so I can see what I'm doing. But it worked out okay. So I decided I wanted to put a tiny bit of color on my card front. So I'm adding that same aqua sky, but with a much lighter hand. Like I want the frame to be darker and I want it to stand out. And I want the background to just not be bright white. I almost want it to look like a bluish green white, the aqua sky white. And then I can tuck my shaker element right inside there, and I like the way that comes out. Like you can pop that in and put foam on the back of your card front, but I'm going to glue my card front to my card base. My card base, by the way, is 4 1/4 by 11. I scored and folded it at 5 1/2. I just added liquid glue. I love these glue tubes. I don't know if you tried them yet, but I have super sore hands, and I love these because they squeeze so easily. And I put my shaker bit in there also with liquid glue. And now I'm going to add my tulip on top. I'm going to build my tulip right on top. And I'm putting it on this edge of my frame so it fits on the card. And I like this bluish green behind this yellowish green cardstock. This just happened to be the shade of green scrap cardstock I had in my bin, so that's what I pulled out. Now the tulip, this is actually a layering tulip die, so there are these oval dies in the set, and they layer on top of the tulip shape itself. So I wanted to give those a little bit of color, so I pulled out I pulled out grapefruit and ballet slippers, but the grapefruit was a little bit orange. I wanted the color that I add to be subtle. So I'm going with the ballet slipper, which is a super light pink. And you'll be wondering as I'm doing it, what the heck is going on? It looks like she's doing nothing. But like if you watch when I'm doing this, and compare the ones that I've done to the ones that I haven't done, you'll see that adding this light pink to the yellow is just making it a little bit darker. So that layer will stand out from the bottom tulip layer. And if you look at those, you can see the difference there. It's so subtle, but that's just one of those little details that actually makes a little bit of a difference. I didn't want to use 2 different colors of cardstock. I wanted it to be subtler than that. Sometimes I like to use 2 different colors of cardstock for my layers. This time I just wanted it to be subtle. So I'm adding that, and then I'm going to pull out my favorite tweezers, the reverse tweezers. Whenever I have dies that layer together and little bits that I need to hang on to, I pull out my reverse tweezers because, again, especially if you have sore hands, these are the perfect tool for tasks like this. I'll put a little drop of glue on the center of each one of those tulip bases, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my reverse tweezer to add that oval to the center of the other one. Now from this point of view, that looks like a huge difference between the yellow bottom and that yellow oval that I'm adding at the top. And that was just very light pink. You can see the pink on that white paper. It's so subtle. But look at the difference when you get the yellows together. Isn't that amazing? I think it's amazing. Stuff like that always fascinates me. And I like the way it looks. I feel like it gives your tulips a little bit more interest. So I'm just adding again a drop of liquid glue on each of the stems. Be careful not to add the glue to the leaves. There are 3 leaves and 6 stems. You want to get the glue on the stems. So I'm adding them, and there's 2 different sizes here. At least I think there are 2. There's at least 2 different sizes, because a couple of those tulips you can see are larger than the other ones. You could use a whole variety, like you could use a rainbow of tulips if you wanted to, but I was keeping it easy and die cutting everything out of just one color. And then I'm pulling out, looking for a clean brush in my thing, so part of my arm. I'm pulling out that ballet slipper color again, and I'm adding a little color to the edges of the bow and to the center of the bow. Just again, to add a little bit of interest. I feel like it helps give your stuff more realism when the color is just not all the same. And I just think it's just a little touch I like to add. And as I was doing this, I was thinking that this is actually more subtle than I want it to be. So I pulled out the honeysuckle color, and it's actually a kind of a nice bright pink. You can see that nice bright pink. But I want to make sure I do this in a way that it doesn't look like I swiped bright pink ink on. So I don't want there to be lines. So I was trying to be careful to blend out any harsh lines on the edges. And I'm putting a little piece of foam on the back of that, and that will pop up on top of the tulips. What a nice touch to have in the die set, a bow like that. And if you wanted to use twine or some skinny ribbon scrap that you have, definitely do that. So I went ahead and stamped the Thinking of You from the Valentine Quokka set in the eggplant purple ink from Concord and 9th, and then I just trimmed it down on my trimmer. I put a piece of foam under the word thinking, or the part of the word thinking that was going to hang off the frame, and I'm just going to use a drop of liquid glue behind the word you so that the whole thing is like the same level. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh, you know what would be nice? More embellishments, because more embellishments, why not? I definitely want to put some pearls on there, and I have my embellishments so organized now that it's easy to find what I'm looking for, and I can actually see down. You can see down in the lids of those to see what they are. So of course I pull a bunch out, because look how pretty those pearls are. Some of the pearls are just one color, some of them are multicolor, and you can see how beautiful the multicolor ones are. But as soon as I pulled out the lemon yellow color, that was the color I wanted. I realized I felt like the card needed a tiny bit more yellow. So I'm using one of my embellishment trays to pour a whole bunch in, because there are at least four different sizes of pearls in each one of those mixes. And I love using the different size pearls. For this one, mostly I'm pulling out one of the like this, not the smallest size, that one was the smallest size, but the second smallest size with a couple of the smallest size. And I'm putting a whole bunch on because you get a nice big package of embellishments when you order them. And I just add them with liquid glue and embellishment tool. I do dab up the excess glue, and of course I have to shake my shaker card again. I'm going to put links to all this stuff below. I would love it if you give this video a thumbs up. And I would love it if you are not subscribed, if you subscribe to my channel and click that bell to get notifications every time I upload a new video. I would love that. It would mean so much to me. And Again, check below for the details of the embellishment sale. We always want to stock up when things are 20% off. Treat yourself to an embellishment tray and an embellishment spoon and the embellishment organizer if your embellishments aren't organized. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Have a wonderful day.